Rich man pushes his wheelchair-bound daughter off the cliff, but a black boy saw everything and... It started as just another school trip. Noah, only 10, had always felt a little out of place. While the other kids laughed and played near the ocean, he wandered off with his sketchbook, looking for a quiet place to draw birds. He wasn't trying to break rules, he just needed space. The teasing from one of his classmates had gotten to him again, and his drawings were the only thing that made him feel calm. He found a hidden spot between some sharp rocks near the edge of the cliff. The wind was cooler there. Waves crashed far below, and gulls flew low over the water. Noah sat down, pulled out his pencil, and began sketching. For a while, it was peaceful, until he heard it. A strange sound. Soft, rhythmic, metal on stone. Looked up. Through a gap in the rocks, he spotted a man, tall, wearing a suit too expensive for a hike. His hair was neatly combed back. He was pushing a wheelchair. In the chair sat a girl. She looked about Noah's age, pale skin, honey-colored, hair tied in a ponytail. Her dress was clean and fancy, the kind of thing people wore to parties, not cliffs. Noah froze. The man stopped right at the narrowest part of the path. He placed his hands on the handles of the wheelchair and leaned forward. "It's beautiful here, isn't it?" the man said. His voice carried easily on the breeze. "I thought you'd appreciate the view. One last time." The girl's head turned slightly. "Dad," she said, her voice shaky, "I want to go home. Please. I didn't tell anyone, I promise." The man didn't respond. His face didn't change, and then, without another word, he pushed the wheelchair forward. The chair rolled fast toward the edge, then tipped. Noah couldn't move, couldn't breathe. He watched as the girl screamed, a sound that will never leave his mind, before she vanished over the edge. Gone. The sea swallowed her scream. The man stood still for a second, calm, as if nothing had happened. Then he slowly straightened his tie and turned to leave. But before he walked away, his head turned, and his eyes locked on Noah's hiding spot. Noah ducked, heart racing so hard it hurt. Had the man seen him? He waited, holding his breath. After what felt like forever, he peeked again. The man was walking away. Noah jumped to his feet, grabbed his sketchbook, and ran. He didn't stop until he reached his class down on the beach. His legs were shaking. His voice cracked as he yelled, "Help! Someone pushed a girl off the cliff. She was in a wheelchair." Everyone turned to look. His teacher, Miss Peterson, ran to him. "Noah, where have you been? We've been looking all over for you." Noah pointed up the hill. A man, a rich-looking man. He pushed a girl, off the cliff. I saw everything. Her name was Maddie. I heard him say it. The other teacher, Mr. Taylor, joined them. "Noah, calm down. Are you hurt?" "No, I'm not hurt," Noah said, nearly shouting. "But she is. We have to go back." The teachers looked at each other, not scared, just confused. "Noah," Miss Peterson said slowly, "that's a very serious thing to say. Are you sure you didn't imagine it?" "I didn't imagine it," Noah shouted again. "She screamed. He killed her." The other kids stared. Some laughed nervously. One of them, James, smirked and said, "You read too many comics, Wilson." No one believed him. The adults told him he was probably stressed, that maybe he'd dozed off and had a bad dream. The principal said they'd talk to his parents, but Noah knew what he saw. It wasn't a dream, and he couldn't let it go. That night, he barely spoke. He sat in his room, staring at his sketchbook, the page still open to a half-drawn seagull. He hadn't drawn the man or the girl. He was afraid to. But tomorrow he would. He'd draw it all. Because if no one believed his words, maybe, just maybe, his drawings would tell the truth. Noah didn't sleep that night. He sat on his bedroom floor with the light off and his sketchbook in his lap, staring at the blank page. He could still hear her scream, could still see the way the man just walked away. Like it meant nothing, like it was a chore he'd finally crossed off his list. His parents came in a few times, asking if he was okay, if he wanted to talk, but Noah just shook his head. What could he say? They wouldn't believe him either. By morning, he had drawn everything: the cliff, the man's face, the girl in the chair, the way she was dressed, her hair, the sea. He even added a little caption in the corner, just 3 words. Her name's Maddie. At school, he tried again. He brought the drawing to Miss Peterson. "Look," he said quietly. "This is what I saw." She took the paper, eyes scanning it slowly, her lips pressed together. "You're very talented, Noah," she said gently. "But this looks like something from a dream. Or maybe a movie you watched?" "It wasn't a dream," Noah said firmly. "It happened. And if we go back to the cliff, we can find something. Her wheelchair, or something." "Noah," she said, putting a hand on his shoulder, "we just had a field trip. There were no missing persons reports. No one has called the school. No parents are worried. I think your imagination is just running a little wild right now. But Noah," she interrupted softly, "let's just focus on class. Today, okay?" That day, everyone looked at him differently. James, the boy who teased him on the trip, started whispering to others and smirking. "Careful," he said loudly as Noah walked by. "Wilson sees dead people now." The rest of the class laughed. At recess, one of the girls asked if he was seeing a therapist. Another asked if he was trying to get famous by making stuff up. Noah just walked away. Later that night, his parents sat him down. The school had called. They were concerned. His mom spoke first. "Sweetheart, are you feeling okay?" "I told you," Noah said. "A man killed a girl. I saw it. It wasn't a dream. I wasn't imagining things." His dad sighed, tired. "Son, it's okay if you made a mistake. Sometimes our minds play tricks on us, especially when we're under stress." "I'm not stressed." "Then why are you drawing things like this?" He held up Noah's sketchbook. "Dead girls, cliffs, men in suits. That's not normal for a kid your age." Noah stood up. "It's not just a drawing. It happened." His parents exchanged the same look Miss Peterson had given him. That look that says, "Poor kid, he's not lying, but he's not well either." Noah stormed upstairs and slammed the door. If no one would believe him, then he'd prove it. The next afternoon, he told his parents he had art club. He didn't. He took his sketchbook and a flashlight and walked all the way back to Eagle Point Cliff. The sun was already starting to set. The wind was cold. But he didn't care. He found the same spot he'd hidden behind. Everything looked the same. Except now, it felt scarier. He was alone, and he knew what had happened here. Noah got down on his knees and started looking around. The ground was dry now, but there were still marks, crushed grass, a branch that looked freshly broken. A trail through the bushes, like something heavy had been pushed through. He followed it to the edge and looked down. Nothing. No chair. No body. Just water and rocks far below. Maybe the tide took it. Maybe she was gone for good, or maybe... Noah climbed down the side of the cliff, carefully, using roots and rocks for balance. His hands got scraped. His knees bled. But he didn't stop. At the bottom, it was quiet. The sea was calm. A few broken branches were scattered in the sand. He shined his flashlight across the rocks. And then, something. A deep line in the sand. Like something heavy had been dragged. He followed it until it disappeared into the water. Noah stood there, heart pounding, staring at the waves. The trail was real. The wheelchair had been here. This wasn't a story. He wasn't imagining things. He didn't find the chair, or the girl, but he found something else. Proof. Proof that something terrible happened here, and someone didn't want it to be found. As he climbed back up in the dark, one thought stayed in his mind. If no one else would find the truth, he'd find it himself. Rich man pushes his wheelchair-bound daughter off the cliff, but a black boy saw everything and... Days passed. Noah kept drawing. He filled page after page of his sketchbook with everything he could remember from that day on the cliff. The man's eyes, the girl's terrified face, the shine of the wheelchair, the sound her scream made as it cut through the wind. He tried not to let anyone see what he was working on. People were already whispering. His teachers were patient but cautious. His classmates were worse. Even his parents, though kinder in their tone, had started dropping hints about talking to someone, or maybe taking a break from sketching for a while. But Noah didn't stop. And then, something strange happened. One morning, while flipping through his sketchbook before school, he noticed a page he hadn't seen before. At first, he thought he had drawn it and forgot. But it wasn't his style. The lines were shakier. The coloring was different, messy, nervous, almost childlike. It showed a girl, small in a blue dress, with her wheelchair lying tipped over next to her. She was standing in what looked like a dark tunnel. Underneath the picture in wobbly handwriting were 3 words, "I'm not dead." Noah stared at it for a long time, heart pounding in his chest. He didn't draw this. He was sure of it. The sketch had appeared between 2 pages he had finished days ago. His parents hadn't touched his sketchbook. He always kept it in his bag. The teachers didn't have it. No one did. So how? Was it a prank? Another way someone at school was messing with him, or could it be from her? He read the message again. "I'm not dead." If that was real, then everything changed. He took the book to school, but didn't show it to anyone, not even the teachers. He didn't trust them anymore. He just sat in the back, staring at that one page, wondering if he was going crazy, or if someone was trying to reach him. That afternoon, walking home alone, he saw the black SUV again, parked across the street from his house, same one as before. Tinted windows, no license plate on the front. He slowed his steps, watching. Whoever was inside didn't move, just sat there. Watching, maybe. Waiting. Noah turned quickly and ducked down a side street. He cut through someone's backyard and entered his house from the back door, locking it behind him. His hands were shaking. His heart raced. It wasn't his imagination. Someone was watching him. The next day, during art class, Noah was sitting alone when someone pulled up a chair beside him. A girl, maybe a few years older, torn jeans, faded hoodie, curly hair dyed blue, at the ends. He'd seen her around but never talked to her. "You're the kid who saw the wheelchair thing, right?" she asked, flipping a pencil between her fingers. Noah looked up, suspicious. "Why?" The girl shrugged. "I've seen you sketching around Whitaker's house. Don't worry, I'm not judging, just wondering what you're trying to prove." Noah hesitated. Most people mocked him. But something about this girl felt different. "I saw him push her," Noah said quietly, "off the cliff. And now, I think she might still be alive." The girl raised an eyebrow. "Big accusation. You got proof?" Noah opened his sketchbook to the mystery drawing. She stared at it for a long time. Her smirk faded. "You didn't draw this?" "Nope." "Where'd it come from?" "I don't know." The girl nodded slowly. "That's creepy as hell." They sat in silence for a few seconds. "I'm Cora," she finally said. And I hate rich guys who think they can do anything. So, maybe I'll help. Noah blinked. Why? Cora grinned. Because I'm bored. And this? This feels like the start of something big. That evening, they went back to the cliff together. The sun was low. The waves below were louder than before, crashing like thunder. Cora brought binoculars and snacks. Noah brought his sketchbook and flashlight. They searched the brush again, this time more carefully. They climbed halfway down the slope and checked every crack in the rocks. Still nothing. But just as they were about to give up, Cora spotted something. "Hey," she said, pointing. "What's that?" Hidden behind a patch of thick vines near. The cliff base was a dark opening, a tunnel. They pushed through the brush, and Noah aimed his flashlight inside. It was old. Concrete walls, rusted bolts sticking out of the ceiling, the smell of salt and something rotten. "This wasn't here before," Noah whispered. Or, "I didn't see it." Cora stepped forward. "You coming or what?" Together, they went inside. After a few feet, they found marks on the ground, faint wheel tracks, like something or someone had been dragged, and then on the wall, written in shaky letters, was another message. "He thinks I'm dead. Don't tell." Noah's breath caught in his throat. She had been here. She was alive? And now? She wanted to be found. The message inside the tunnel changed everything. Noah couldn't stop reading the words scratched onto the wall. "He thinks I'm dead. Don't tell." It wasn't a prank. It wasn't in his head. Someone, Maddie, had been there. And she was trying to reach out without being caught. Cora shone her flashlight down the rest of the tunnel. The air smelled like salt and rust. Water dripped from the ceiling in slow, steady beats. The path split off in different directions, like an underground maze. Some led deeper into darkness. Others seemed caved in or blocked by debris. But one side sloped upward. Cora looked at Noah. "What do you think? Think she followed that one?" Noah nodded, his voice low. "If she crawled out of here after the fall, she'd go up, toward light, toward people." They followed the sloped path in silence, their footsteps soft against the damp floor. About 10 minutes in, the tunnel ended in a crack in the stone, just wide enough to squeeze through. On the other side was forest. Wild, dense, untouched. Noah pushed through the last of the brush and froze. In the distance, half hidden by trees and vines, stood a small cabin, weathered wood, a crooked chimney, a garden with vegetables overgrowing their boxes. Smoke curled faintly from the chimney. Cora stepped up beside him. "Okay, that's not creepy at all." But Noah didn't laugh. He felt it, deep down. She was here. They moved slowly toward the cabin, staying behind the trees. As they got closer, they saw a man sitting on the porch. He was tall and lean, with a gray beard and tired eyes. He was sharpening a knife, his movements calm and steady. He didn't look dangerous, but he didn't look soft either. "Maintenance guy," Cora whispered. "This must be him." "What?" "I overheard someone at the gas station last week. They said Whitaker fired a guy years ago who used to do work around his estate. Said the guy moved off-grid. Built a place out here in the woods. Noah's heart pounded. Could this man have helped Maddie? Cora reached into her hoodie and pulled out a folded napkin. "I left a note at the diner just in case. In case we didn't come back." Noah swallowed hard. "Let's go." They stepped out from the trees. The man looked up instantly. His hand went to his belt, not for a phone, but for a shotgun leaning against the porch rail. "That's far." "Enough," he said, his voice like gravel. "We're not here to hurt you," Noah said quickly, hands raised. "Please, we're just looking for someone." "We saw your cabin by accident," Cora added. We don't want trouble." The man stood slowly, eyes locked on Noah. "What are two kids doing out here, miles from town?" "We're looking for a girl," Noah said. "Her name's Maddie, Madison Whitaker." For a moment, the man didn't react. Then his eyes changed, just slightly, like a flicker of memory had passed behind them. "I don't know any Maddie," he said flatly. "She was pushed off a cliff months ago," Noah said, his voice shaking. "Everyone thinks she drowned in a sailing accident. But I saw it. I saw her father push her in a wheelchair, and I saw signs in the tunnel, messages, and a picture. She's alive, and she's hiding." Still silence. And then a voice from inside the cabin, faint, but real. "It's okay, Elias. That's the boy who draws birds." Noah felt his knees go weak. He knew that voice. The cabin door opened, and there she was, Maddie. She stood in the doorway, pale and thin, but standing. One hand braced against the doorframe for balance. Her honey blonde hair was longer now. Her eyes were tired, but clear. Focused. "Maddie?" Noah said softly, like if he spoke too loud, she might disappear. She nodded. "You found me?" she whispered. Cora blinked. "Okay. Wow." Inside the cabin, everything felt like stepping into a secret someone had been hiding for a long time. It smelled like herbs, smoke, and something warm cooking on the stove. Books were stacked in corners. A wheelchair sat unused by the fireplace. They sat at the old wooden table while Elias made tea. He didn't smile, but he no longer looked like he was going to kick them out. Maddie told her story, in her own words, the fall, the ledge she landed on, the pain, the blood, how Elias had found her while collecting driftwood and pulled her to safety. "I was barely conscious," she said. "I didn't even know where I was at first. But he didn't take me to a hospital. He knew my father would find me, make me disappear for good." "He said it was a sailing accident," Noah said. "He always plans ahead," Maddie replied. "He made people think I was already gone, and that way no one would go looking." She looked at them both. "But you did." She reached under her sleeve and rolled it up. Long, healing scars crossed her arm. She touched one gently. "He told me I'd never walk again. He said the accident years ago ruined my spine. But..." Elias stopped the pills, and my body started to change. Slowly. "You weren't sick," Cora whispered. "I don't think I ever was," Maddie said. "I think he kept me sick. To control me." The room fell quiet. The truth was heavy. Then Maddie said something that made Noah's stomach turn. "He told me once. What happened to Mom was an accident, that she fell. But I heard them argue the night before. She was going to take me away. She knew something was wrong. And then she was gone." Elias stood, his jaw tight. "He's dangerous," he said. "And now that you know she's alive, he'll come after you too." Noah and Cora looked at each other. This wasn't just a secret anymore. It was a fight, and they weren't walking away. For a few days, the cabin in the woods felt like the safest place on Earth. Noah, Cora, and Maddie sat by the fire most evenings, talking, sharing stories, planning. Elias made meals, sometimes in total silence, but always listening. He didn't smile often, but the way he gently adjusted Maddie's pillow or stirred tea with herbs when she looked pale said more than words ever could. Noah kept sketching, Maddie's face, the tunnel, even the moment he first saw her standing at the cabin door. Cora started writing everything down, documenting everything Maddie remembered about her father, the pills, the therapy sessions, the night her mother died. "I used to think he loved me," Maddie said once, staring into the fire. "Now I think he just loved the image of me, the helpless daughter, the quiet child in the chair, a little porcelain doll. But that safety? It didn't last. Because Charles Whitaker had noticed. Not just that someone was poking around, but that someone knew. He didn't panic. He didn't scream. He got organized. The first sign came a week later. Maddie's story appeared on the local news, but not the real one. A reporter, clearly reading a script, said Maddie had been officially declared missing after a tragic boating accident. Charles gave a heartfelt interview outside his mansion, tears in his eyes, voice breaking with emotion. "She was my light," he said, holding a framed photo of Maddie. "She had dreams. She was kind. I just want her back. If anyone out there knows anything, please come forward." Noah watched it in silence. Then he stood up, walked outside, and threw up in the bushes. "He's lying to the whole world," Cora said, disgusted. "No," Maddie said softly. "He's playing the long game. He's covering his tracks." The next day, Elias spotted something. Tracks. Fresh ones. Not animals. Boot prints. Someone had been near the cabin, watching. Probably at night. "Time's up," Elias said. "He's looking, and he's getting close." That night, Noah's phone buzzed. A message. Unknown number. "Be careful what you draw, little artist. Not everything is meant to be seen." He dropped the phone. His hands were shaking. He hadn't told anyone about his latest sketches. Not even Cora. The next blow came quickly. Noah was called into the principal's office the very next morning. Mr. Lawson, usually kind, looked stern. "Noah," he began, "your behavior lately has been concerning. Sketches with violent themes, accusations against respected members of our community." "I told the truth," Noah said, voice calm but steady. Mr. Lawson's voice lowered. "You've been suspended for 3 days. We've also contacted your parents. They think you may need some professional support." Back at home, Noah's mother looked heartbroken. His father was just angry. "What are you trying to prove?" His dad asked, pacing. "That everyone's lying except you?" "She's alive," Noah said. "Her name is Maddie. She's walking, she's talking, and her dad is dangerous." "We are not doing this again," his father snapped. "You are 10 years old. This is not your fight." But Noah knew it was. He couldn't stay quiet. Not now. That night, after everyone had gone to sleep, Noah sneaked into Granny May's room. She was awake, sitting in her old rocking chair, the moonlight brushing the silver in her hair. "I'm not crazy," Noah whispered, tears in his eyes. Granny May looked at him for a moment, then patted the seat beside her. "I never thought you were, baby." He told her everything. The cabin, Maddie, the secret drawings, the threats, Charles's interview on the news. When he finished, Granny May sat back and sighed. "I worked for that man's family, you know, before his wife died." "You did?" She nodded. "His wife, Clara, was kind, soft-spoken, but I saw the bruises. I heard her cry through the walls. She knew something wasn't right. And one night she said something strange to me." Noah leaned in. She said, "If anything happens, to me, protect Maddie. He'll come for her next." Noah stared at her. She knew. Granny May opened a drawer and pulled out a small velvet pouch. Inside was a silver necklace with a locket. When she popped it open, inside wasn't a picture, but a tiny USB drive. "She gave me this before she died. Told me not to open it unless something ever felt wrong." They plugged it into Granny's ancient laptop. There were audio files, recordings, of Clara, her voice, nervous, quiet. "I think Charles is hiding money, offshore. I think he's trying to make Maddie weaker. He insists she needs medication, but I've stopped giving them to her for a week and she's stronger. If anything happens to me, please, don't let her stay with him." Noah couldn't believe what he was hearing. She tried to fight for Maddie, he whispered, and he killed her for it. Granny May wiped her eyes. And now he's trying to finish the job. The next day, Maddie got a message too. Not a call, not a text, a drawing, placed in her old sketchbook which she kept. Hidden in the cabin, it was of a girl in a hospital bed with wires and tubes. Her face was blank, the caption, "Let's pretend you never walked." Maddie stared at it, then stood up. Her legs shook a little, but she didn't fall. "He's scared," she said. "What do you mean?" Cora asked. Maddie looked out the window, her eyes burning. "He knows the truth's getting too close, and now he's trying to scare us. But he forgot something." "What?" "I'm not that little girl in the chair anymore." By now, the whole town was watching. News outlets kept airing clips of Charles Whitaker crying in interviews, holding Maddie's photo like a trophy. Candlelight vigils were held for the missing girl, and flyers with her face were taped. Up in grocery stores and bus stops, even though she wasn't missing, she was hiding. Because if Charles found her again, she knew she wouldn't survive it a second time. And now, he was closing in. Elias had found more footprints near the cabin. Deep tire marks in the mud. Someone had been out there again. Not wandering campers or hikers, but people who knew what they were looking for. "They're circling us," he said one morning, checking the perimeter. "We need to move." But there was nowhere else to go. Not with Maddie still healing. And not when Charles was tracking them like shadows. They needed more than hiding. They needed to hit back. Hard. That night, in the dim glow of the cabin's fireplace, Cora leaned over the table, tracing a finger across a hand-drawn map. Noah sat across from her, Maddie bundled in a blanket beside him. Elias stood nearby, arms crossed, staring at the fire. "We can't stay here," Cora said. "He has the police, the media, half the school board. He owns the hospital where Maddie was supposed to be treated. If he gets to her again, he'll lock her away. For good this time." Maddie nodded. "He already tried once. When I was little, he told people I had seizures. Said I needed medication. But the truth was, I was just scared of him. He kept me sick. And when my mom found out, she threatened to take me. 3 days later, she fell down the stairs." Silence hung heavy in the room. "Then," Maddie said, steadying her voice, "he pushed me off a cliff and told the world it was a sailing accident." Noah clenched his fists. "So we get the truth out. Really out. Not through whispers, not drawings. Public, big, loud." "Okay," Cora said. "But how?" It was Elias who finally spoke. "We don't wait for justice to come to us." He said, "We take Maddie to the facility Charles tried to lock her in. We record everything. Then we get her out, in front of cameras. We make sure if he tries anything again, the whole world is watching." They planned through the night. It had to be fast, precise, dangerous. Cora used her hacker friend to get a rough layout of Lakeside Psychiatric, the private hospital where Charles had once arranged for Maddie to be treated and silenced. Noah, though only 10, had the smallest frame and could fit into tight spaces unnoticed. Maddie knew where the old patient rooms were. She'd been there once, years ago. Elias knew how to disable electric fences. Cora had access to her brother's walkie set, the biggest problem. They needed a distraction, and Granny May, who had been lying low after the USB drive reveal, came up with one. She called the town newspaper and tipped them off to a big surprise coming at Lakeside. She didn't give names, just enough to get their attention. Enough to get someone to send a reporter to watch the front door. Enough for the world to listen. On the day of the plan, the sky was gray and heavy. Wind picked up like it was warning them. Maddie stared at her reflection in the dusty mirror in the back of Elias's truck. Her eyes looked different now. Not broken, not scared. Focused. She stepped out slowly, leaning on her walking stick. Cora helped her into the wheelchair, not because she needed it, but because they needed the illusion. To Charles, Maddie was still helpless, weak, a child to be wheeled around and silenced. Today, they would use that lie against him. Noah slipped in through a side entrance at Lakeside, dressed in a delivery uniform. Elias had hacked the ID badge. His hands were shaking, but his face was calm. He knew what he had to do. He found the records room. Inside were patient files, sealed, stacked high, forgotten. He searched until he found it. Whitaker, Madison, the file said she had been committed once before, for hallucinations, paranoia, and erratic behavior. The symptoms started 1 week after her mother died. There it was, in writing, the beginning of her father's plan to erase her voice. Noah snapped photos of every page. Then he slipped into the main hallway. Cora had taken her position at the nurse's desk, pretending to be a volunteer from a college internship. She handed out flyers, chattered about psychology credits, and offered free stress candies. No one noticed her placing a tiny camera in the corner of the room. In the back hallway, Elias stood behind the boiler room door, ready with bolt cutters. His eyes were locked on the cameras, waiting for Cora's signal. And Maddie? She was already being wheeled in through the back, dressed in a hospital gown they'd found in a thrift store, pretending to be a new transfer. The real hospital staff, unaware of the plan, had no idea what was coming. Maddie was placed in a room, one she remembered. She sat quietly, waited. Noah slipped in behind her. Cora clicked on the camera feed. Maddie stood up. She looked into the lens, and she spoke. "My name is Madison Whitaker. I was never sick. I was never broken. I was lied to, drugged, locked away." She took a step forward. "Another. My father pushed me off a cliff to make sure I stayed quiet. But I survived, and now I'm standing on my own." She held up a photo of her mother. "This is the woman he couldn't control. She tried to save me. He killed her. I'm done being silent." From the hallway came shouting. Security had caught on. Cora gave the signal. Elias cut the power. Noah and Maddie bolted. They rushed through the dark halls, lit only by emergency lights. Cora met them at the back door, holding it open as Elias backed the truck into position. They jumped inside. Tires screeched. Alarms blared. As they sped away, Maddie looked out the window. Behind them, reporters were flooding the main entrance, just in time to see the power flicker back on. And a video feed began playing on the hospital's front screen. It was her, speaking the truth, to the entire town. The video spread like wildfire. Within hours, Madison Whitaker's trembling but determined voice was everywhere. On phones, on news broadcasts, on school laptops. The girl who had been declared dead was very much alive, and walking. More than that, she was fighting. In the video, she named names, described places, explained years of manipulation, medical lies, forged diagnoses. She talked about her mother, the bruises no one asked about, the silences that followed every scream behind closed doors. She talked about the pills that kept her sleepy, weak quiet, and the fall. The lie, and still, the most shocking part, she stood, strong, balanced, refusing to fall. The world started to believe her, but Charles Whitaker didn't run. Instead, he doubled down. Within 24 hours of the video going public, Charles held a press conference, his public relations team dressed, him in a soft blue sweater. The lighting was warm. His voice trembled. "My daughter has been manipulated," he said, looking straight into the camera, "by people who want to destroy our family. She's confused. She's been used." He never once said her name. Instead, he painted her as a mentally ill girl with a troubled history and claimed her recent statements were part of a delusional break. But the world had seen too much. People remembered the way his voice cracked a little too perfectly, how his tears didn't match his eyes, how his daughter's story had too many details, too much pain, to be fiction. Still, It wasn't enough to stop him, because Charles had one final move left. 2 days after Maddie's escape, the police showed up at Granny May's house with a warrant. They arrested her on fabricated charges, aiding a runaway, falsifying medical documents, interfering with a private mental health matter. She was taken away in cuffs, her silver hair blowing in the wind as she raised her chin with quiet defiance. Noah watched from across the street, heart-shattering. "They're trying to scare us," Cora said, gripping his shoulder. But they picked the wrong people to scare. They needed one last chance, not just to fight back, but to end it. It was Maddie who suggested it. "We go back to the cliff," she said quietly. "The place where he ended me. That's where we finish this." They chose the day carefully. It was almost exactly 4 months since that field trip, the day Noah saw her fall, the day he didn't look away. Cora leaked the location to a trusted journalist, not from town, but from out of state. Someone Charles didn't control. A former investigative reporter named Nina, who had lost her job years ago for pushing too hard against a corporate donor. She was hungry, smart, and fearless. Cameras were hidden in rocks, mics placed in trees. Reporters waited at a safe distance. The live stream was ready. Then Maddie sat, in the same spot. In a wheelchair, once again, not because she needed it, but because she knew he expected it. And Charles came, dressed in black. No fake tears this time. Just cold fury in every step. "I knew you were weak," he said softly, stopping just short of her. "But this? This is betrayal." Maddie didn't move. "You lied to the world," he hissed. "And now you think they'll protect you?" "No," she said, and then she stood, slowly, carefully, her knees trembling for only a second. Then, straightening. "I don't need protection anymore," she said. Charles froze. She took a step forward. "You're not in control anymore. You're not my daughter," he spat. "No," Maddie whispered. "Not yours. Not your victim. Not your patient. Not your puppet." Charles lunged, eyes full of rage, but he never reached her. Noah stepped forward from the rocks, followed by reporters, by Cora, by Nina, with her camera already rolling, by Elias with his arms crossed and fists clenched. Police cars pulled up. Seconds later. Not local. Federal. They surrounded Charles, guns lowered. Calm, serious voices told him to raise his hands. He didn't fight, because in that moment, for the first time in his life, he had no power left. He looked at Maddie one last time, full of venom, and said, "You'll regret this." She looked him right in the eyes and replied, "No, you will." They took him away, and the cliff fell silent again. Except this time, there was no scream, no fall, just wind, and waves, and peace. 3 months later, Charles Whitaker was sentenced to life in federal prison for conspiracy, medical abuse, attempted murder, witness tampering, and fraud. The recordings, the USB drive, the testimony, the drawings, everything Maddie, Noah, Cora, and the others had collected, it all held up. Granny May was released with a public apology from the district attorney's office. Noah returned to school, this time not as a strange, quiet boy with stories, but as the one who told the truth when no one else did. He published his sketches in a book called The Boy Who Saw, not to be famous, but to make sure kids like him never get silenced again. Cora got a scholarship and a full-time spot with the team helping the newly created Maddie Foundation, a nonprofit focused on helping children escape medical abuse and parental coercion. And Maddie? She learned to run, not just walk, but run. She gave speeches, wrote essays, visited hospitals where children like her were still being over-medicated and overruled. But once a year, she returned to the cliff. One afternoon, Noah joined her there. They stood together, side by side, at the edge. No fear this time. Just the sound of waves below and the wind brushing their hair. "It's just a cliff now," Maddie said quietly. "No monsters, no secrets, just ocean." Noah smiled, sketchbook in his hands. "Are you ready to leave?" he asked. Maddie looked forward, the sun warming her face. "I already have," she said.